And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, and I am so excited to host today New York Times best-selling author John Mann and his partner in crime, pun intended, Brandon Webb, who hasn't logged on yet because he is a sniper IRL. He may be somewhere embedded with the enemy. We don't know. He's coming. Sit tight. But in the meantime, we're going to get talking about their brand new red hot book, Steal Fear, already racking up crazy good praise. John, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about Steal Fear.
Thank you, Sara. It's awesome to be here. I will do my very best to be both John and Brandon until the man arrives. So Steal Fear, what can I tell you? It is a locked room mystery with about 6,000 suspects. The room that's locked is an aircraft carrier. A damaged, disgraced Navy SEAL has to stalk a serial killer on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's the story in a nutshell.
Wow. Well, I am reading it as we speak, and I can't wait to get into every dirty detail because there's so much to talk about with this book. But first, I just want to welcome everyone who's watching on Facebook, everyone who's watching on YouTube. Welcome, friends. If you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Here's the drill. Every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, because you know Mondays can be murder, I give you two featured authors, or today a featured author team and an author, so a total of three, and you get to ask them anything. This is your time to ask the authors anything you want. So ask them about their writing, ask them about their books, ask you about the topics. Lots to discuss here. Get the questions going in the comments. I'll get them right over to John. I want to welcome, and I'll be monitoring comments as well over here on my second screen from wherever you're watching. So I want to welcome Gayle, welcome Destiny, welcome Danny, welcome Darla, welcome Sandra, welcome Randy. Great to have you all. Welcome everybody. Gayle is saying, hi, Sara and Murder by the Book. Gayle, top community member, always great to have you. Welcome back. Gayle saying, hi, John, as well. Darla is saying, good afternoon, Sara and all. Darla, always great to have you. Welcome back. Mystery and Thriller Maven member there. So get your questions going wherever you're watching. Thanks for the hearts up, you guys. Thanks for the hearts. I love me some hearts. Get your questions going in the comments for John, and we will get going. But I want to kick off by saying, so I don't read, I don't know about you guys, tell me in the comments. I don't read a ton of military books. So I saw the boat, I saw the military stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm going to learn something. It's going to be my Top Gun moment, except, the Navy. And I am learning a lot. Like, for instance, this boat holds 6,000 people, bigger than the town I was born in. I mean, it's a huge floating city. It has a coffee shop, like a Starbucks kind of thing. I didn't know the Navy ships, you could just, you could drink the crappy coffee, which one of the people in the book loves it, dark and dirty, scorched and gross. Yes. But you can also go to the Starbucks and pay for your extra coffee. So I'm learning so much. I'm also learning a ton of terms like gas up the bird, which means put gas in the helicopter. I'm starting to use that with my husband when it's time to put gas in the car. And now we say gas up the bird. So John, tell us about your research process. All these terms, all this military stuff. Are you from the military? Give us the scoop.
Yeah, well, first off, my background is I'm a cellist. So no, Brandon's the sniper. I have no military background in my own life, except that I've been partnering with him for 10 plus years. We've written 6 books together. This is the 7th. And a lot of those books were memoirs, both about him and about other Navy SEALs that he's known and about his partners and teammates. So I've gotten to know like a whole community of special operations warriors in American military over those last 10 years, and even some, of other countries. So it's kind of been a crash course, but I am not military. So what's happening is, as you're learning these terms, I'm learning these terms. As you're learning about the culture of military culture on an aircraft carrier, I'm learning it. So I'm kind of feeding you the outsider experience, and I have to make it simple to myself first. Therefore, I've got to make it simple for you.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. Thank you. Because there is a lot to learn, and I'm enjoying that though. I mean, as a reader, I like to obviously be sucked into the story. Suck me in, guys, suck me in.
Yes.
But I also like to learn. I want to know that it's carefully researched. I want to know that it's accurate so that I can, really get in there and learn something. So that's really cool. All right, the questions are already coming in, so let's get right over to them. Gayle wants to know, how did Brandon and John meet? So give us the inside scoop on that.
So I'd written a ton of nonfiction books with other co-authors and myself, all in the nonfiction world, things like leadership and business and self-development and excellence and so forth. And one day I get a call from my literary agent who said, there's a guy in my office who wants to write a memoir, his memoir. And this was just when Captain Phillips had been, the Captain Phillips story. He wasn't yet Tom Hanks. He was still just Captain Phillips, but he had been captured by these Somalian pirates. 3 Navy SEAL snipers on a boat nearby took out the 3 snipers with coordinated shots, and the whole world sat there slack-jawed watching on CNN while this happened. There was an interview on CNN with a guy who had trained the Navy SEAL sniper course for years, and my agent turned to her sister and said, I want that guy as a client. 2 days later, that guy walked into her office and said, I need an agent. That was Brandon. So Brandon was not only an active Navy SEAL deployed just after Afghanistan started in Afghanistan, then later in Iraq and other places. He also came back to the US and ran the Navy SEAL sniper program. I wrote his memoir. That was in 2009, came out in 2012, The Red Circle. It was our first big book. And in the course of that, he said to me one day, would you ever be interested in writing a novel? I was like, a novel? Never done that. Of course. So we've, 6 books later, 7 books later, finally, a decade later, here we are. Here is the thriller, first of many.
And speak of the devil, and here he is. Welcome, Brandon. Great to have you from your undisclosed location in Europe doing who knows what. We don't know, but we're going to find out. We're going to grill you up good. So I love this. So we'll start it with a cellist and a sniper work into a bar, ... and write New York Times bestselling books for 10 years together. So I'm already loving it. Now, Gayle would like to know, and Gayle, you're reading my mind, girl. I'm loving it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. How do you two write together? So how does this partnership work? You guys are my 6th writing team. So I have had best friends from colleges, two best friends from colleges, a male, female, and a male, male team, both best friends from colleges. I've had 2 husbands and wives. I've had friends who are just both authors, but I've never had a sniper and a cellist. So lay it out for us. How's this work?
You first, man.
I mean, I think we're still kind of figuring out how to play in the band, but it worked. I mean, there's been times where John and I have phone calls, we swap emails. And look, I've written 1,000+ blog posts for my media company. I'd like to say I'm a decent nonfiction writer, but I feel like John and I are on Tour de France and we're in the mountains and I'm just drafting behind him, trying to keep up. But specifically with Steal Fear, I had taken some classes. I read On Writing by Stephen King, and I started to just free-form write Steal Fear, which is based off a true story of me serving on the Abe Lincoln when we had a sexual predator on the boat. And so I had the seeds were kind of there. I turned over, 10,000-15,000 words to John at the point when I said, look, do you want to help me finish this sucker? I had developed some of the characters, but, including the killer, but John gets full credit. Like Finn, he brought Finn to life.
Finn the hero.
Yeah, Finn the hero. It just did a bang up job of in all aspects, but especially the character development. So I feel like I'm good on plot, but I'm running for the master here. John's an incredible writer, and I think we're just, like I said, we're climbing the mountain together. But John is clearly I'm in the back just trying to keep up.
It's a sniper spotter team. Only I get to be the sniper, he's the spotter, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So also something else that happens is I get to squat. I've spent so much time with Brandon on the phone and email and so forth. I know his life so well. I get to kind of mine his life experience for details here and there in the book. So there are a ton of things in the book, characters, events, references that, basically I've lifted from Brandon's life or from the lives of people that he's introduced me to in the military, to populate the story. It's fiction. We made it up, but there's an awful lot of reality in it.
Well,
And
I
attention to
am
detail,
here for
I
the
think.
fiction and the reality. Great to know that Steel Fear is based on your time on the Abe Lincoln. I'm learning so much about the ship. I'm picturing it, obviously I've never been on a boat like this, but I'm picturing it sort of like the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars, with all these wires hanging down in these dark tunnels, and you're sort of walking around,
That's good.
I love
the
it.
ship.
I love it.
And
That's a good reference.
That's good. That's good.
I'm learning that the
Good
stairs
reference.
are called ladders. I'm learning that they have a coffee shop, so you don't just have to eat the crappy coffee that some people seem to like. Who knew that there was a Starbucks on board? How odd.
More like a Death Star, though. I would say Death Star is how big it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great because the Millennium Falcon's kind of a small craft, whereas the Death Star actually probably could
Huge.
hold 6,000 human beings. So fascinating that you were there and actually there was a predator amongst you. How did that feel? Was it stressful every day? I mean, was it keeping you up at night in your rack, which I've learned is a bed?
Yeah, not for me. I mean, not for the men on the ship, I don't think. This was a time when the Navy was integrating women into more combat roles. And, I think 600 women out of 6,000 was the ratio. So roughly 10%, but the women were terrified. I remember we had a helicopter pilot named Mona, who Monica is kind of loosely based after in the book. She was terrified. Like, we were talking about it, and there this like creepy notes even in her laundry. She'd get her laundry back with these like nasty little notes in there, just creepy stuff. So yeah, I think for the women it was definitely terrifying.
Oh my God,
That's what
creepy
gave me the
notes.
idea. Yeah.
And any
Yeah.
woman who's on
Move
social
over,
media,
Weinstein.
right? Exactly. Any woman on social media has had those kinds of comments slide into her DM. Some guy DM'd me the other day and asked me how big my feet were and if I could send pictures. My feet are not that big, you guys. They're just normal, somewhat attractive feet.
How big are they, like, in feet? Oh, wait a second. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, and another one was like, "How tall are you?" And I was, I wrote like I'm 6'4". No, I'm kidding. I
Like,
didn't
back
write that.
off.
Yeah, exactly. Stay back, sir. Okay, let's get into so Brandon, you wrote the first 10 to 15,000 words based on your time on the Abe Lincoln. You shot it over to John, the cellist turned New York Times bestselling writer. He helped you craft it in. What do you do when you disagree? I mean, has there been a disagreement, and how did you handle it?
We're fighting constantly, and he's a weakling, so I don't. No, actually, seriously, we don't have fights. I mean, we haven't really had. There are times where I've got a scene going, and I just can't figure out what ought to happen here. And I go like, hey, how would this actually play out? And he tells me how it would play out, and we take ideas and bounce them off each other. But we just really get along well. I mean, both as people, but also as writers.
I think it's like climbing mountains together.
Yeah.
We both have the same goal to reach the summit, and we're just pitching in to do whatever it takes to summit. And that's how I look at it. But we have a good relationship and no ego. I think that's a big part of just as an entrepreneur, you get, competing egos and like John and I have the same goal. We're just aligned.
So in 441 pages, there was not one disagreement about who the killer should be, what should happen to Monica.
No, John and I had disagreements, but with our agent, because we turned in like over 100,000 words. We're like, no, we have to keep it all. So we're like disagreeing with other people. We don't have any issues amongst ourselves.
That was the biggest thing for us about fiction too, because we've written a ton of nonfiction, but I've never had an experience where we had to take the initial draft, the original manuscript, and do so much compression. I mean, we had 150,000 words and had to compress it down to 100,000. That's throwing out every third word, and so that was really that was an adventure. It got better. Every cut made it better.
An adventure indeed. I'm on a vicious slash and burn campaign myself. I terribly overwrote my next book. I wrote 186,000 words. I want to kill myself. And I have to cut every, second word. So I am just, pounding my head on the nearest desk and day drinking. No, I'm not doing that. But it's a rough process.
Yeah,
Now,
it gets better and better.
Let's talk about Finn. Let's talk about your main guy here. So one of my favorite scenes is when Monica guesses up the bird, flies her helicopter over to pick up this Navy SEAL. She doesn't know who it's going to be, but everyone knows Navy SEALs are badasses and kind of, have this fearsome, reputation. Ain't nobody going to mess with a SEAL. So she's expecting this huge strapping dude, and indeed someone like that comes walking toward her, and a little guy is kind of scurrying behind him, a marsupial, she says, and she thinks that guy's just carrying the luggage, but it turns out that is the guy. And he's sort of creeping about the boat, and he's out there sketching through the night, and he's just pacing the halls, memorizing the layout of the ship. So marsupial, who is this dude, this strange little creature? Tell us about the creation of Finn.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we wanted to do really early on was take people's stereotypical idea, kind of the Hollywood Schwarzenegger warrior, like you described, right? This massive, strapping, athletic god uber god of a warrior, and turn that on its head. Because, first of all, it's fun, but also because it's real. When SEALs are known for going through these brutal physical trials through buds, right? Everyone's seen those clips of them carrying logs and doing all these difficult obstacle courses and being shouted out like crazy. That's all true. But what really from my experience, what really distinguishes SEALs is kind of a mindset, an intellectual capacity and a mindset. Of endless curiosity, innovation, adaptability, and flexibility, and so forth. So it's there's a lot going on under the hood with a SEAL, and we wanted to show that this is not going to be primarily a guy who accomplishes the goal by just beating up everybody in the room, but it's going to be a question of using your brain.
Brandon, anything to add to that? Having been a SEAL yourself, are you the marsupial sneaking around dude pacing the halls? Are you the dude with the logs on your shoulders? Who are you, Brandon Webb? Who are you?
I mean, I think, again, what John mentioned earlier is we've done so much work together that this has been a common theme that it's come up with me. I can't tell you how many people I meet in civilian clothes, and they look at me like, wow, you don't look like a SEAL. When you're wearing a uniform and you have that trident on your chest, it's like you get the instant recognition. But in the outside of uniform, I get it all the time, and I was like, well, what's a SEAL look like? And of course everyone has this Schwarzenegger like image in their head. So I think that's something John and I agreed that was important to kind of put in the book as some leadership philosophy and showcasing the different gender roles. There's like strong women in the military. It was like that exists in real life. So we're like, let's put it in the book. This isn't a man's world anymore. So, we felt that was important as well.
I love that. Darla would like to know, John, how does it feel having a friend that was a sniper? And no pressure that he's staring at you right now.
It makes me very cautious.
Yeah, indeed. I would think twice about suggesting any edits to Brandon's first draft.
I'll tell you the truth. One of the very first emails I sent him was like, Brandon is not going to shoot me. But yeah, actually, it's really, really cool because I don't know this world. I didn't know this world at all until our association. And part of the cool thing about writing for me is learning things you don't know, learning things you didn't know, going into worlds that you haven't been in and exploring them. And you mentioned the research and accuracy, doing it accurately, getting it right. And there's no readership, no audience that's more finicky than a military readership, which Brandon can tell you all about. You can't get this stuff wrong.
I love that. Another question for John. Gayle would like to know, were you a ghostwriter?
Yeah, I was, and I may still be. I won't say.
So a lot of secrets from both of this team. We've got ghosts of different kinds.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that's good.
Gayle's also saying, hi, Brandon, and welcome.
Thank you.
Let's get to your reviews. So your reviews have been amazing. Congratulations. The #1 New York Times bestselling author, lead child, raving, sensationally good, an instant classic, maybe an instant legend. Wow. High praise from King Child himself. Let's talk about how you actually do that from a craft perspective. I mean, were you penning this or typing this actually, thinking to yourself, this does feel kind of legendary? Or were you like, I suck, what should I do? You know, walk us through that.
We should both take a shot at that one. Brandon, you want to go first?
Brandon, why don't you lead off?
I mean, I think, even the memoir that we did together, the theme at the end of the book was excellent. And so I think John and I just were aligned to deliver leave it all on the mat.
Yeah.
I used to wrestle. And I think that was our objective. And I think with Steel Fear, we did leave it all on the mat, and we just put our best work out there, and we're, I think, surprised and grateful that not only did this peer group of thriller crime writers embrace us, that they were free with their praise. It was not a competitive environment. They're like, hey, we love that you guys are in here. So that was, I guess that's my ad for that one.
I've had people tell me for years, crime writers are the nicest people in the world, but this is our first chance to experience that, to this degree. And it's absolutely true. It's been amazing, as Brandon said. There've been a lot of generosity coming from these, Brad Thor and Robert Crace, and you mentioned Lee Child and Steve Barry and all these amazing people. For us, I think what happened also was, Brandon had this really fantastic setup for a story. And great, in my view, great setups like that don't come around, very often. It was really just a phenomenal setup. Serial killer in an aircraft carrier. Has that ever been done? I don't think so. And the next part of it was to create this Finn character. And we wanted to create a character who would really who was so complicated and so unusual that he would carry a whole story. And I think we ended up creating a character that will carry a whole series. Yeah. So, we were shooting for the stars. But when we sold the book, when we pitched the manuscript to publishers and we sold it to Bantam, they came back and said, yeah, we want a 2-book deal. So it was much to our delight and surprise. It was a series. It was a series from the moment that it was commercially conceived.
Yay. Well, I did notice on the back of the book that it said the first thriller together of many more to come. So I had a feeling there was more to come. Finn is a strong character. He's so interesting with his memory loss, the allusions to his childhood, his friend, who's had her own tough childhood, how they're sort of bonded. There's you guys have given us a lot of meat and a lot of peaks at what else could be explored here as a series. So I am excited for it. A question that was submitted in advance from the Mystery and Thriller Maven group said, of all of the characters in the book, which 2 would you like to be stuck on a desert island with, and why? I love that question. Brandon, kick us off, or John, kick us off. Who wants to go first?
You go, dude.
I mean, Monica is definitely a favorite character of mine. So her and probably Jackson, because Jackson would be, he's like got that, he's just a total character, and
Jackson,
that would be my pick. With no spoilers.
What about Captain Tom? I mean, he could be cheering you on every day. He'd be boosting morale with his witty, funny, cheery greetings. I mean, that would be kind of a boost if you're stuck on a desert island. But Monica, if you have a helicopter, could fly you out of there. So good choices. What about you, John?
Jackson, Master Chief Jackson is a blast. He's so much fun of a character, and we both really, really enjoyed him, and we get a kick out of him. He'd be fun. Captain Tom. There's this captain in the story who you don't ever actually see. He's only in Finn's memory, but he is actually based on a real captain that was on another ship Brandon was deployed on, and that's even his real name. I mean, we wanted to honor the guy because he was such a phenomenal leader. I think I think I would have to agree with Brandon. I think Monica is just fascinating, but Jackson is such a blast. They're so colorful. They supply kind of the color of the characters of the story. But for me, I think I'd want to be with Finn. I mean, Finn is so. If I weren't too nervous, you know, if I knew him well enough to not be nervous, because he makes you nervous. But he's so resourceful and so sort of thoughtful. He would be a good guy to have, I think, of all of them in a pinch, which is, you know, basically what happens in the story. He's the guy that is there to be in the clinch.
Yeah, I think I would have to choose Finn myself, because that dude is going to survive anything.
Yep.
You know, he's going to follow the seam of the ship and not get distracted by anything. Also, his sense of direction. He's probably going to be able to get us off that island better than anyone else. So I'm hitching my wagon to Finn. Ooh, this is good. Okay, Gayle would like to know, what makes a musician and a sniper decide to also become big time authors? So you guys have been writing together for 10 years, again, working on Brandon's memoir, your Benghazi book, again, congratulations on that, New York Times bestselling. Now you're segueing into thrillers. Why?
I mean, I can answer for myself. I just felt like I had completed what I wanted to say on nonfiction. I got maybe one or two more books. I want to write a book about divorce, because I had a really, really good divorce with my ex. That's a whole other story. But I'm creative. I grew up on a sailboat, no television. My parents were hippies. I like creating. And in the beginning, writing was very therapeutic for me. John has been there through my journey of dealing with post-traumatic stress, losing my best friend in Libya.
Yeah.
You know, he's seen me kind of evolve, and I like to create things, and I love the fact that we're doing this and that this could turn into something special. You know, we sold the rights to Peacock, which is NBC Universal Streaming Network. Hopefully they start production next year. So this could be something really, really cool for us both. And also, like, John is one of the best. Look, I run a media site. I hire writers all the time. John is one of the best writers I've been around. And so to see him kind of like get credit and come into his own, and honestly, I'm like incredibly proud of John, and that this is, you know, his name on the cover, and he's like blazing the trail as point man, and it's a very cool thing to happen.
He's Webb, I'm Man. I'll add to that. He's Webb, I'm Man. Yeah, he's Spencer, I'm Greenwald. What I'll add to that is, you know, for me, I've had a blast writing all the nonfiction I've done, but it has also felt like a runway toward this. My mom taught me when I was a kid. She was a playwright, and she taught me when I was a kid that fiction can be more real than real. Nonfiction is real, but with fiction you can go even realer than real. And I guess what that means is you can sort of touch some human realities that it's very difficult to go to with a nonfiction world. I mean, there are great nonfiction writers, you know, David McCullough and Eric Larson, and so many fantastic nonfiction writers who give you this vivid story. But it just feels like getting into fiction is like the next step towards really talking about the experience of being a human being.
I love that.
I would add to what John said there, because I was pretty raw with the Red Circle, which is the memoir, and it caused drama. Like, it caused drama with my father, and so when you touch on these very raw, vulnerable human elements in the nonfiction world, it can cause a lot of drama in your real life, and I learned that the hard way. That's my first book. So fiction, yeah, you can have at it. You know, it's like you can go deep, go real, and you know, no one's calling you at night going, "Why the hell did you say that? That's not the way I remembered it."
Yeah, exactly. You could write about a sniper named Brendan, and you could just do whatever you wanted with Brendan. I mean, Brendan could have a best friend named Mon.
Like Marcus
I mean,
did.
we don't know. I love that. What was the hardest part of writing this book, and why? And by the way, everyone, we have 1 minute left, so get your questions going. Brendan has a hard stop in 1 minute, so get your questions going.
John could carry on. I want to tell you, the reason I have to jump is because I literally am meeting my girlfriend's parents for the first time in Spain. And I shook the hand. I had a sip of wine, and I ran out of dinner. So I'm running back right now after.
Oh man,
That's the
Oh,
truth.
yay.
that's a
Okay.
good reason.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where does this rank in the pressure scale for you, Brandon? Having probably been in some very tense situations, where's meeting the girlfriend's parents fall for you?
It's not too bad. Her dad's ex-military, business guy, water polo player. So I got a pretty good background. I'm feeling pretty good.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So what was the hardest part of writing this book and why for each of you?
For me, it was putting the reader on the carrier, making the carrier come to life, because it's so complicated, it's so huge, and we didn't want to overwhelm the reader, but we want to make it real. So that was, I think that was the biggest challenge in research, in writing, in editing, everything.
Yeah, I would say the same, but to John's point, one thing that it's hard for me to watch the military movies and read a lot of these very well written military books, but the attention to detail isn't there. Like one thing I respect about Tom Clancy. So it was like, oh shit, I'm in the driver's seat now with John, and we have to get this right. And it's still, for me and the Navy guy, that's so complex, environment, you want to make sure that you get the details right. So that was really, really challenging also.
Okay, perfect. Last question for you, Brandon, before you skip. What is your favorite scene in this book and why? And then over to you, John.
Honestly, it's the first scene you described with Monica picking up Finn. I thought John set that up so well. I mean, I love the murder scenes, but I don't want to get into any spoilers. But that scene just kind of sets the whole tone.
The first murder scene?
Oh, I love them all. That's one of my favorites too. I like writing those scenes, like getting into that stuff.
And what about you, John? Favorite scene and why?
There's a scene, this isn't a spoiler, so don't worry, but there's a scene, the book is in 7 parts. And the first part is called The Seam of the Weld. And you made a reference, Sara, to Brandon following the seam of the ship. I won't explain what that means, but at the very end of that part, Finn is all by himself on I think he's on the deck of the boat, and a bunch of heavy stuff has gone down, and he's kind of reflecting on it. And he's playing some scenes, flashbacks from his experience. And a dialogue with his friend, Carol, whom you alluded to, and he talks about the seam of the weld. That's my favorite scene, I think, for one reason, which is that I wrote that Brandon described this process of diving under boats and what it was like in that world, that weird sound world. And so all of the material for that scene, Brandon described to me when we were working on another book, and I couldn't find a place to put it in that book. It was one of those things I had to leave on the editing room floor, and we were writing Steel Fair. I went, oh, we can take that and plug it in here, and it's the perfect way to make this whole theme of the whole first part of the book come together. So it was like, these are the happy accidents in writing that just make you, thankful you're alive. So there's the very end of part 1. It was a lot of fun.
Are you talking about the part where Carol asks Finn what his seam is, and he says she hypothesizes that it could be loyalty? Okay, yeah. That is so interesting you said that. Okay, so there was something so powerful and so heartfelt and so raw and real. I actually underlined that part because
did you?
Because I thought to myself, why did she say loyalty? And what is it about his childhood? And what is it about her childhood? And what is it about the connection that these two very damaged people have? And that he, again, literally dives into boats, which I would be afraid to do.
And that wasn't planned. I got to tell you, Sara, that wasn't planned.
And they in on this one part, and there's something so visceral about this. I love that scene.
I felt the same way when it happened. I felt the same way when it happened. And it was like, that wasn't planned. If you had asked me, the day before, what is the core of, and I would have said, I'm not sure yet. Those characters just kind of said that stuff, and I'm sitting there transcribing and saying, wow, this is like who they are. This is cool.
There's something I can always tell when a scene either is from someone's own personal experience, because the energy, even though I'm reading it on a paper page, there's an energy that zings off of it, and you can feel it in your body, or at least I can. I'm like, oh, this one's a little bit different. Oh, that's fascinating. And Finn actually talks about that. He gets this sensation on the back of his neck when he's around something bad or in danger or getting some sort of visceral message.
Yes.
Anyway, well, I want to thank you both. Gayle says, Brandon, your future in-laws must be impressed with what you're doing right now. You saying you have to jet off for
Good
an
setup.
interview from the book. Very glamorous.
I was talking to New York. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold on, please. Hold on, Mr. Obama. I'll be right
Yeah.
back. Yeah, exactly. It's very. I'm very busy.
Shoot him
over
now?
here.
Yeah, shoot him. Sure.
I want to remind everyone that this book is out for sale and you can buy it today from our favorite independent bookstore, woman owned, one of 3 dedicated mystery bookstores in the world, Murder by the Book. So grab it today. I am putting the link in the comments and you can have your copy of Steel Fear. I am thoroughly enjoying this and you will as well. So to continue the conversation, join me over in my Facebook group, Mystery and Thriller Mavens. So everyone read the book and then continue the conversation over there. I want to thank you both for joining us today. This has been an illuminating, heartening, mind-opening learning experience. And now I'm going to go gas up the bird and fly off to Doha.
Nice.
Guys, when your next book is out, please come back and please come back and be our guest again.
Absolutely.
I would love to host you. This has been such a fabulous conversation. Brandon, have fun in Spain. Good luck with the future in-laws. John, safe harboring out Hurricane Henry in Western Mass. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you at 8 p.m. with Samantha Downing. Take care till then.
Thank you so much.